Hi, I'm Janie Donaldson.
And I'm Cindy Walter.
And I'm David Martelli.
Welcome to Quilt Central,
where we celebrate quilting
in everyday living.
Today we'll show you many log cabin ideas, from Mary Edwards' vibrant log cabin star to Cynthia Scott's elegant table topper. Pam Clarke quilts a log cabin on the long arm, and Julie Mullin quilts a continuous line design. This is Quilt Central.
Quilt Central is made possible in part by Jacquard Products, committed to meeting the needs of artists. JANOME America. JANOME, because you simply love to sew. Fairfield Processing Corporation. We care for your quilts. A1 Quilting Machines. A1 Precision Quilting Machines. Olfa, the original rotary cutting system. Sulky of America, makers of decorative threads, stabilizers, books, and iron-on transfer pins. Welcome to Quilt Central, celebrating quilting and everyday living with your hosts Janie Donaldson, Cindy Walter, and David Martelli.
Today we have with us Mary Edwards, quilt designer, pattern designer, sample maker for Quilt Central. She's production assistant, jack of all trades.
Yeah, I seem to fit all these different little pockets.
But this time you have something really special that's happened to your life that you've created.
Yes. Basically, I designed something for Quilters World magazine, and I had some leftover pieces, and I designed the log cabin star.
But the piece you designed for the magazine is going to be on the cover, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I'm so excited.
Oh, it'll be great. Yeah. But this is a little variation of it.
Yes, it gives you a traditional log cabin, a Lone Star look.
Well, let's see how that goes.
It's kind of neat. And we're going to talk about fabric first. And we're going to talk about the borders first. They're cut at 2 inches. Then we're going to talk about then there's the star. They're cut at all 1.5 except for one, and that's the A block. That's cut at 1 3/4 inches. Okay. So the trick is 45-degree angles. If you have a problem with 45-degree angles and you're a beginner, you could spray starch your fabric before you cut your strips.
So they'd be a little stiffer
and easier.
Yeah, because it's on the bias.
So what we're going to do is we line to the 45-degree along the top edge of I've already pre-cut one.
Okay.
And then you're going to have it along the 1 3/4, and then all you do is cut. That's all. And you just keep moving down until you get 8 cuts. And then you take them. Oh, I got to tell you about this. This is the coolest thing I think I've ran into in a long time. Janie, I have my pieces all over the place. My dog comes by, sneezes, and there they all go. This is my lifesaver. This is, I'm sorry, she does. She's a Dalmatian. And this thing, you can stick things to. And they stay there.
Well, you're so organized. I would imagine you'd have something going like that. That is really nice.
Well, but the other neat part of the Lone Star, log cabin Lone Star, is this is all stripped sewed.
So you're chaining together.
Yes. And here we go. Now, would you press this for me, please?
I sure will. Just fold it right over. You don't have to have open seams, do you?
Nope.
Just flat. There. There you go.
Okay. Now, again, a 45-degree angle. What we're doing is we're lining it up either at the top.
Same degree.
Yep, same degree. All this is cut on the 45-degree angle. Okay, and then you flip it. And you do the same thing. Generally, it's the lower line that works best.
And that gives you the second angle for the
There you go.
The log.
Now, you're ready for your next strip. And you lay them according to the pattern because you don't want them turned funny.
So you want to just keep a real organized
Yes.
board.
Yes, okay. Now I'm going to show you one trick on when you're cutting, and that is when you line it up on the 45 degree, whoops, got to turn around here. Okay, you're going to line it up on the 45 degree. If you use these lines,
The in-between ones?
yeah, the in-between ones, to go as close to a seam or line it up as close to a seam as possible to make sure that it stays in a straight line. Then you can
Your
go
black will be straighter. And you have to
Yeah.
watch it because it's on the bias a little.
That's your helpful
So
hint.
each time you add one color and cut.
Right.
And then add a color and cut.
And you go all the way up to I.
Oh.
Okay, this is I. Okay, now we're going to put the Lone Star together. Now, you're going to mark 1/4 inch on both sides.
And that's like a little pivot point for you, isn't it?
Well, what it is when you have all the center meets, it's going to be really bulky.
Right. When you open it up, they go opposite. So
Yeah.
you need to have it just right.
Right, and then, of course, when we add our triangles and our corners.
They'll be very precise
Yes.
too because they are like an inverted seam then.
Correct. And what we're going to do is sew from that point A to point B. And you put all 8 around. Now, here, I'm going to pop this open just to have you see what it looks
Oh,
like.
that is beautiful.
And if you notice, it's less bulk in the middle.
Right. As they kind of spin around the seams inside.
Yep. And remember that one that you marked over here?
Yes, a little, little spot on the
You
corner.
add your triangle.
Down one side.
And you sew from one side to the other. And then
And unpin it and flip it this way. Do the same thing. So you
Correct.
get that inverted seam in there really easy.
Oh, and it
And
looks
then
fat.
it's a block, and anybody can work with straight seams.
Right. Now, the one important thing there is after you do a large block like this to make sure that you don't get an hourglass thing is adding the borders.
Oh, yes, I know. You have to be just perfectly square when you're working with biases.
And this is just not for my quilt, but it helps with a lot of quilts, and we need all the help we can get.
yes.
So instead of measuring from here to here, we're going to measure
Through the middle.
right.
Okay.
And we'll cut our strip accordingly, and then we'll merge whether it's the top or the bottom, just like you do a shoulder seam if you have to.
Kind of force the ends to
Yeah.
fit.
Yeah.
Now that's a good idea.
And then we're going to go into the border, the angled border. And just like we did before, we're going to
Get
do
two
that.
quick cuts out of that.
Yep, there we go. This time I'm using
A different line.
Yep, one of the other lines. Whoops.
Some thick seams.
Yep. Ooh, got something else underneath there. Say ah. Okay. And again, these are cut at 2. Well, this is a mock one. These are smaller than the other one.
Well, that makes it quick and easy to piece of border, and you can just stack them up so nice and easy.
Yep.
Boy, Mary, we absolutely love seeing your ideas, and we'll have to watch for that on the cover of the magazine.
Yes. So thank you so much for having me here to show the Lone Star.
Today we have with us one of the Quilt Central Celebrity Cruise teachers, Pam Clarke. Welcome, Pam.
Hi, Janie. So nice to be here.
What have you brought with you today?
Log cabin.
Oh, we always love the log.
You know what it is? It's when I started quilting, like 30-some years ago, my first pattern I ever did was a log cabin quilt.
It is a beginner block.
It is, and it's really fun. It's very rewarding because it's easy
Yes.
to do, all right? But once I got it done, I didn't know how to quilt it. So the first thing I did is I stitched in the ditch.
Oh, that was hard.
It's very hard. And you know when it's not a lot of fun, you don't see it.
No, only from the back.
Yeah, so anyway, so what I've done since I started long arm quilting, I have all these different ways that I've figured out how to do a log cabin block.
Okay.
So I have like this one with the loops and the little wavy lines, and then the straight lines, and then the wavy ones. And I taught myself, or I didn't really teach myself, but I just figured out how to read the block so that I could keep it so it was continuous all the way around. And obviously this is set just straight blocks,
Yes.
okay? There's so many different settings out there. There must be, 150 ways to set a log cabin.
Diagonal stars
Right.
through the barn door.
Oh, exactly. So we have so many different settings. Well, that was on a solid piece, and that's pretty easy to see. But let's say you have a quilt like this one, and this is called the Flowers in the Cabin.
It's beautiful.
Oh, and it's, so much fun to do. But we've got this really floral pattern here.
Yes.
So you could easily do an all-over design, like I did a little leaf design, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute. And then I did a background quilting back here. You could echo quilt or do something
Yeah,
like
it gets
that.
a nice texture to it.
Yeah, but anyways, you don't want to spend a lot of time in a real busy print.
Right, you can't see what
Can't
you did
see it.
anyway.
Yeah, so do something that you're real comfortable
Kind of
with.
stabilize it then.
All right, and this is I can't remember the name of this setting here, but this one here I put like a long type of feathered pattern.
Beautiful. You do that all freehand,
All
don't
freehand,
you?
yes.
Oh, it's
okay.
gorgeous.
And then the dark part, I just did another like an all-over design.
Little scrolls.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
So would you like to see how I quilt
Yes,
some
I
of these
do.
blocks?
I want to see.
All right. So when you look at a log cabin quilt, and it really depends on how it's set. Okay, if it's set in the diamond shape, obviously you want to do like a motif in the middle. But this one here is just set block to block. And what I look at is I look at the block and I decide what is the longest block that I started with. So it's usually this one right here, and I'm going to go up, around. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to form like a loop pattern.
Okay.
Okay, so you can see the design. You can also take and go through the middle of the block. And what I do is I just do a loop all the way around. And you just keep it going.
Beautiful.
Very simple. So if you're a real new beginner to long arm quilting, or if you're going to use your home machine, you could do this without any problem. And it's going to keep it so that it just quilts it and keep it laying nice and flat.
Oh, you have a nice balance to what you do.
Yeah, all the way around. See how I'm just going around the block?
I see.
And that's basically how you pieced it. You know, we piece it, the two lights on one side, two
Right.
darks on the other.
Fast and easy quilting.
Yeah, really fast.
Oh, it's really nice.
Okay,
I love the loops
And then when I
on
get to the middle, I'm just going to take it, and I can just put another loop in the chimney part like this.
Right in the center.
Like that.
Wow, that is really slick. I
Okay.
like that.
All right, or you can do like the, like the wavy line one. And this one is really fast. You start here, and you just go up like that, up to there.
Right down the center. Anchors
Yeah,
everything.
and all the way up into the corner. And that's going to keep it so you don't have to ditch quilt. Because as we know, when we do our long arm quilting, you can ditch quilt, but it is very difficult to do. To keep it nice and straight.
The sewing is never as straight as you think it
No,
should be.
And I just love log cabin quilts. I've made, I do one that's called the Flowers in the Cabin, like the one I just showed you. And I do applique in it.
Well, overall, tell the viewers how many quilts you have really quilted in your lifetime.
I have done over 7,000 quilts. I have done a lot.
You probably had the speed cranked up and went just as fast as you did today.
Oh, actually, I'm on slow. No, I'm just kidding. I do sew very fast. But when you've done it as long as I have, you kind of get to know your patterns and your designs.
Right.
And I've seen just about every
And your
quilt.
technique really is to use the block pattern itself.
Yes.
Go from corner to corner, or to use whatever design is in there.
Exactly. And what you want to really do is really just read it. Just see it.
Well, thank you so much for showing us this.
Oh.
And that speedy way is the way we should all do those log
Oh,
cabins.
thank you. It's a pleasure.
And now let's see what Cindy's up to.
Our sewing educator, Cynthia Scott, is going to show us how to make a very elegant table topper. Welcome back, Cynthia.
Hi, Cindy. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you came, and this is a beautiful project.
It's a fun project. And what's different about this log cabin is using different fabrics.
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
Going all over the fabric store to every department makes a difference in the finished product. And we visited the bridal area, the home deck department. We even have some quilting fabrics fabrics in here, so a little bit of everything.
Wow, and I was looking at this one with you, but sometimes it's both sides will work because they look so different, either side.
Absolutely. I call this fabric a twofer. You get two for the price of one.
Right.
This one also looks great on both sides, so it adds more variety to the project.
Yeah, what you were telling me though, one of the problems with those types of fabric is that they fray a lot. You know, the home decor.
They really do. They tend to be very fragile and fall apart. But that's the beauty of serger construction for this project, because we can actually do two things. We can pre-wash our fabrics, serging the edges first, so it's a completely washable tablecloth. And after the construction is done, it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to fray because all the edges are sealed.
Wow, that's good. That's great to handle with all those beautiful fabrics, and then it won't
Absolutely.
fall apart. I think serging it before you pre-wash it, that's a great tip.
And that's what we did here. We used 1/3 yard cuts of actually a few different colors. We have our reds, then we have golds and taupes, and those actually build the two sides of our log cabin block.
Okay.
We're using 2-inch strips that are cut selvage, cross grain, selvage to selvage, and then cutting them as we go to construct our log cabin block and making it very easy.
It's very striking with the black center, and then the bright colors, and then the taupe just is very striking color.
Well, these are popular colors right now, and traditionally you have a red or yellow in the center of a log cabin, but I wanted a little different look.
It's very elegant.
Yes.
So now to start serging, after you're going to construct it like a regular log cabin, the only secret is every piece you add is going to be with the serger.
Right, exactly.
Did you use a different weight thread or the same?
I did. Actually, we went with a 90 weight serger thread for this project.
That's a little lighter weight.
Lighter weight, and it cuts down on the bulk of the seams.
Good idea.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
when you iron it flat, great idea. You don't want someone setting a wine glass on your tabletop or having it tip
have
over.
a tip. That's right.
Right, exactly.
So let me show you a couple of techniques here. We have, I have a block partially constructed, and I actually have the pins on the left side of the seam that we're going to sew, and they're out of the way of the cutting blade.
I see, yeah.
So you've got your seam secured, but you're not going to sew over your pins.
Out of there. Right.
Correct.
Good tip.
So I'm just going to sew the seam. And it cuts that edge off that is fraying and gives us a nice clean edge. Right, like that.
That's so beautiful. Let's see how nice it looks here in the back.
Right, here's a completed block.
It's so clean.
Right, so you can see that it's not going to go anywhere.
After you iron and square up the block, I saw that you serged the final edge again too.
Yes.
And that's just to keep it squared up as you're piecing all the blocks together.
Exactly, and we used 16 blocks for our finished project, and I actually did 4 different variations of the block using different fabrics in different locations to give more variety to the project.
Great idea. Mixed and matched them all.
Yes.
I noticed the back of this. This is the barn raiser, and they're going to show us a beautiful shot of this.
Yes.
The barn raiser, gorgeous pattern. And then the back of it, what a stunning backing fabric.
Well, again, it's from the home deck department, but we used a solid piece on the back, and it really could be a reversible project if you wanted it to be.
I think it definitely is a reversible project.
Right.
Definitely is. Now, once you put the backing on there, do you have any more quilting, securing all the layers together?
No, actually this
to.
is a floating, the back is floating. It's not sewn together in any way, but if it works just fine. I've used this.
And the binding, tell me about the thickness. It looks like it's about a 1/2 inch, and you have a velour.
So we use the pre-washed black velvet. This happens to be rayon, but you could use microfiber also for the binding, and then we've added our black tassels to the corners.
It's darling. It's very elegant. What a beautiful table topper for Christmas or any festive holiday.
Yes.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you so much.
See you again.
We are so excited. Quilt Central now has quilting cruises.
We're really excited. And the cruise planner, Janean Peterson's here to tell us about them. Woo, what's our first
Hi,
one?
well, we have a schedule of 5 years planned out, and our first one will be June 19th, 2005, going to Alaska.
Now, I've already gone on a cruise there, and boy, I've got to tell you, it was really exciting, especially the glaciers.
In Glacier Bay, the glaciers are blue.
Yeah,
exactly.
What's our next one then?
The next one we're going to do is fall foliage in October, Canada and New England.
Ooh.
And then our final, well, not final one, the next year, starting in 2006, we're going to go to the Mexican Riviera.
Everyone has a different team of Quilt Central celebrity teachers with different topics.
That's right. And the good thing is that when we're at sea, we'll learn quilting. But when we're not at sea, we're going to play. Shop, shop,
All
eat,
those
eat.
ports, exactly.
Well, we have a great 5-year plan of cruises, and they're all blocked out so they could see them on the website. But we've got the most exciting, I think, is to Rome and to the Panama Canal.
Oh, that'll be wonderful. To check out more about the Quilt Central cruises, go to quiltcentraltv.com. Today we are welcoming Julie Mullin, a continuous line quilting designer. Welcome, Julie.
Hi, I'm glad to be here.
I want to know a little bit more about you. We've seen some of your wonderful patterns, but we don't know much about how you got started.
I started quilting when I was 12. I was rummaging around in my mother's basement and I found a basket full of scraps that was my great-grandmother's.
Oh.
She had supported 4 children and her debilitated husband with her quilting and crocheting.
Oh my goodness.
And I was taken with the story and started my first quilt that night.
Oh.
It's still not finished, but it's a beautiful piece because it has her scraps in it.
That's inspiring. A lot of us can relate to that because we had grandmothers that we learned from too. But you have some wonderful projects here today. Could you show us this one?
This one is a continuous line cabin.
All one line, that whole thing.
All one line.
Cabin, pine trees, clouds, everything, one line.
And the mountains behind. It's very easy to do. It's like paint by number. You just follow that line and you end up at the end with a beautiful picture.
My goodness. And this piece, did you piece this too?
No, this was done by a friend of mine, Pam Mansfield Conrad.
Oh, yeah.
She is a lovely person and a beginning long armor, and she put this together and I thought that it was wonderful and asked her if I could use it. And she was good enough to actually piece me a second one so that we could demonstrate on it.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, let's see a little bit how we do this design. This is a cabin design.
The pattern comes of the whole quilt, which has several different pictures in it, but we're just going to be using the cabin itself this time.
Okay.
It's all one piece of paper so that you don't have to piece it together when you're tracing it off.
So this is your master.
That's your master. And you can trace the design onto the fabric, or do what I do, is I trace it onto a piece of architectural vellum.
Oh, this is wonderful.
The vellum comes 36 inches wide, so you can get the entire cabin onto one piece. I use a permanent marker to trace it off so that when I quilt through it, if there's any moisture, it doesn't go onto my fabric.
That looks so nice. We have another one under here.
All I've done is use straight pins to pin the pattern to the quilt top.
And I see you have them like parallel.
Yes, they're parallel to the bars so that when you roll them, they don't stick out and stick you. I've also pinned them inside the line so that when you're quilting through, you don't have to take off pins as you go.
Don't run into them or over them.
You quilt through the paper and quilt the entire design. Once you're finished, you stretch the fabric on the bias and it pulls, but the paper can't stretch, and so it pops out from under.
I've never heard that before, that you pull it on the bias, but that's a really good tip. I always kind of scratch it off.
It makes it a lot easier to get off once you get those big pieces off.
Okay.
There's still a few little pieces left to take off with tweezers, but it's not a bad thing.
You know, this is a wonderful piece, but I'd love to see you quilt a little with a long arm.
What I have done is just anchored it, and we are starting right here on this line. I don't worry too much about staying exactly on the line because all my designs are very forgiving.
Just as long as you're smooth.
That's right.
It could be inside or outside of it.
That's right.
It's a lot like fun to me. And how long would you say it takes you to run this whole pattern?
I can do it in probably half an hour.
Oh my goodness!
Doesn't take very long, and with so little piecing for the whole thing, the quilt is a one-day project.
Oh, if you didn't piece it, you could do it fairly quickly. What a nice gift to give.
Yes. There you are.
That looks so easy.
It's very simple and it's fun to do. It's not something that you have to work really hard at. And these cabin patterns are things that men and women like.
Yes, it fits in most all homes.
Yes, yes.
Well, I thank you so much for showing us your project today.
I'm glad to do it.
And watch us next time on Quilt Central when we're quilting for kids.
Quilt around the clock. Visit the Quilt Central website at www.quiltcentraltv.com for more information on this program. Quilt Central is made possible in part by Jacquard Products, committed to meeting the needs of artists. JANOME America, JANOME, because you simply love to sew. Fairfield Processing Corporation, we care for your quilts. A1 Quilting Machines, A1, precision quilting machines. OLFA, the original rotary cutting system. Sulky of America, makers of decorative threads, stabilizers, books, and iron-on transfer pins. We are celebrating quilting in everyday living by offering you the new educational beginner kits. You may call toll-free 1-866-PADUCA or visit www.quiltcentraltv.com.